Welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about licensure. You have spent all of your last semesters doing all of the hard stuff about how to be a good teacher and all the strategies and methodologies. And today we're just going to talk about the paperwork part of your career, and that's how to be a licensed teacher in the state of Iowa, and then if you're going to go off to other states as well. So this is the part that you need to own the paperwork part of your job as well. Lawyers keep their license up to date, so do CPAs, beauticians, all kinds of people have licenses, and so do you. And so let's dive into how to become a licensed teacher. All right. And if you have any questions, just shout them out or put them in the chat, and I'll try to get to them. Otherwise, we will talk about them at the end. Can you see my presentation, everybody? You're seeing the licensure staff? Sweet. All right. So here at the University of Iowa, we have two full-time people on our licensure staff. One is Dave Tingwall, and he is going to be retiring in March, but we'll still replace Dave or get a new Dave. Yeah, so there'll always be two people. I am also here. I've been here for, I believe I'm going into my 5th academic year. I am also a Hawkeye teacher, and I'm a Hawkeye teacher as well, like you, and did my student teaching at City High. Go Little Hawks, wore my red on Fridays, and did that a long time ago. I never did teach, but I did substitute teach. But I've also worked in education I worked at the Mississippi Bend Area Education Agency. Has everybody heard of area education agencies? There's 9 across the state. Once you get into those schools, you will definitely hear about them and the resources they have available to you. So take advantage of that. Worked there in their staff development department and doing license renewal. So I helped teachers on the other side of the fence, the licensed teachers with their licenses. And now here I am with the pre-service teachers with you all. I also was on a school board for 12 years. So even my volunteering was always revolved around education. But there will always be somebody here in the licensure staff to help you. All right. Let's see. So today we're going to talk about license overview. And so you got kind of an overview in your orientation classes maybe a few semesters ago. And so now we're going to spiral back around and do the details about it. We're going to talk about how to apply, when you get your license, when you get it. And we're also going to talk about expiration dates of your initial license, as well as renewing your license. And we'll also talk about other states as well. All right, so we're going to dive right in here. Do you need a license? Yes, you do. And when do you want it? You want it now, but you really don't want it right now. You want it in May when you have completed our program. And your Iowa license allows you to teach in Iowa, and it's the validation of our state approved program. Our state approved program is the state sets the rules about what it takes to be a teacher, the classes you need to take, the topics you need to cover, regardless of your and then if your endorsements come the general, and then drills down into what you need for your endorsements. And we say these are the courses that we're going to offer that fill those needs, and they say, yep, that's right. And so that's called a state approved program. So that when we recommend you for licensure, they know that you've completed all of the requirements. Your Iowa license is also a foundation for licensure in other states. Typically, other states will require that you be licensed in the state where you completed your teacher preparation program, and that would be here at the University of Iowa. So you need your Iowa license, and you might not get to get your license. You can get it later if you don't apply now. So even if you're not planning to teach right away, if you're planning to go to grad school or take a gap year, go to Peace Corps or whatever, you can always renew your license, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you will want to apply for it now because the requirements might change. And so when you come back from the Peace Corps in a year or two and you say, oh, you know what, I think I'll apply for my license now. They changed a requirement or added an exam or did something, because rules do change. So you would have to meet the requirements that are in place at that time. So getting your license now is a good thing. Let's see here. Okay. Trying to look at the chat here too. All right. So which license do you get first? The first license that you're going to get right out of the gate is the initial teaching license. And okay. So that's the first license. And if you think that you need a substitute license or a substitute authorization, let us know first, because each one of these applications costs money, and the BOE is not really great about refunding money for inappropriate, incorrect applications. So let us know if you think you need something like that first. All right. So the first initial license, the term of the license is 2 years. And you can substitute teach and you can have a regular full-time teaching job with your initial teaching license. And it's what you give to other states if you're going to move out of state. You're going to give them your Iowa teaching license. It is renewable only 2 times. So if you take a gap year, you just let it expire and then renew it once you are ready to take a job. You need experience to upgrade your license from the initial license, and then the next step is called a standard license. And those requirements are 2 years of teaching in an Iowa public school or 3 years in an Iowa private school or an out-of-state school. And there's more information on the Board of Educational Examiners website. I've linked it there about the requirements. And so once you've successfully completed those 2 years, you apply for your standard license. And there are some other documentation pieces that you would need to supply your years of experience form. And you have to complete a mentorship program with your school district, but your employer will go through that with you. Okay. Any questions there so far? Okay. So again, here's a little bit more summary here. It's good for 2 years. Your licenses will expire in June 30th of 2028. So it gives you time to get that 2 years experience. Typically from then on, your license will expire the last day of your birthday month. So it makes it kind of easy for you to, for your birthday, give yourself the gift of a new license. And if you have the experience needed, you would convert to a standard license. And if you move out of state, you just let your license expire. It will always be waiting here for you. We will always be waiting for you to come back to Iowa to teach again. Or if you need to renew it, that's an option. And if you're just subbing and not looking for full-time work, sometimes we recommend that you let that initial license expire and then apply for a substitute license. And that allows you to substitute on long-term subs. The substitute authorization does not. Does anybody have a substitute authorization? A couple of you? Okay, great. So you're already hopefully subbing out in the schools and getting experience out there with that. So you can sub on that, but you can only sub 10 days in the same classroom. They don't allow for long-term subbing. So say the second grade teacher went on maternity leave and they need a long-term sub. Only those with a substitute license or an initial or regular ed license can sub long-term. All right. And your school district will, the employers will help you through that too. Here's what a license, Grace, did you have a question?
No, I think just having my hand like this, it made it do that.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. This is what a license looks like. Licenses in Iowa are public record, as they are in most states. So you can go out and search for your license from the website boee.iowa.gov, and you can find your second grade teacher's license or your high school social studies teacher and see what they're endorsed to teach. But this is what it looks like. It contains your folder number there at the top, and that number is unique to you. So your employers will often ask you, what's your folder number? Or if you call me in a couple of years, I will ask you, what's your folder number? And that's assigned to you when you complete your application with the Board of Educational Examiners. They'll issue that to you. I'm guessing it's a holdover from when all of your licensure paperwork was kept in a folder, and now it's all online. It will tell you what kind of license type you currently have. It'll give you your issue date and your expiration date, and those are two dates you're going to want to pay attention to throughout your career. Your license is yours. Some school districts it's totally yours. They'll say, hey, Grace, your license expires this month. Where's your new license? And that's all the warning you'll get. And some districts will hold your hand the whole way. Hey, Grace, your license expires in 3 years. Hey, Grace, your license expires in 2 years. What are you doing to renew it? There are some requirements to renew your license, and it's typically college credits. And college credits take time and money, as you know. And so it takes a plan. I did have when I was at the Mississippi Bend AA, I had a teacher call me, say his license had expired, and so he needed to renew it. I'm like, well, can you file for an extension? Sometimes they'll give you some extension if you showed that you've taken some classes already. And he said, no, I can't. I said, well, why not? And he said, well, I've already had two extensions and the state won't give me another one. I'm like, all right, so let's figure out what we're gonna do. And at his district, if your license is expired, and this is statewide, if your license is expired, you are not allowed to be in a classroom. You can't be the teacher of record anymore. So he couldn't be in his classroom, and so he wasn't getting paid. And his district said, if this happens to you, you pay the sub every day. And at that time, subs per day were about $120. So he was paying, not getting paid, and paying the sub that was in his classroom. We found some options for him, and he got his 6 credits within a couple of weeks and got to renew his license right away. But don't let yourself get into those kinds of situations. So this is the paperwork part of your job that you need to keep track of. And it's your license, you keep track of it. Kind of like you would tell your students, it's your responsibility. So it's yours. There's also a section there for public notes at the bottom. So they will put in things like that you're a national board certified teacher or some other recognition. They also put things in there like your license has been revoked or suspended. So there are some not so good notes that they can put in there. So be aware of that. The biggest thing that's on there is also is your endorsements. And these are the endorsements that you are able to teach, legally teach. So you'll want to pay attention to those. So those who are in elementary education, they automatically get one endorsement. So if you're an elementary ed major and I ask you what endorsements are you getting, and if you say none, that's not true because you're going to get elementary K6 teacher elementary classroom 102 would be your endorsement. Every elementary who goes through the elementary program gets that endorsement. But you can have a variety of different endorsements. You can see that Herky here is a social studies teacher. And so social studies, I think, can get up to 9 endorsements maybe. And science is 6 or 7. So they can get a lot. But, there are other endorsements that you can get, reading, the K8, Strat 1, language arts. Here's the social studies folks. If you're in art or music, you'll get 2 automatically. You'll get K8 and 512. Our world language can usually do the same thing. Some can get the middle school endorsements. Anybody here getting middle school endorsements? No, maybe. And can you give some more examples about not so good things? Means you're suspended from having a license. If your license is suspended, you can't work because your license is not current. And we'll get to some of those things in a little bit about what would cause you to get your license suspended. But that's a great question. So here's some other endorsements. And most states can be different. I know Illinois is in the process of changing their elementary ed endorsement. They're typically K8 right now, and they're going to the case or they're grades 1 through 6. And so they're going to the model of K6 like ours, so that their kindergarten teachers can be elementary like they are in Iowa. So they're kind of mimicking our state. So they're making some changes there. And we'll talk about more endorsements in a minute, Sam. Good question. So right now we're going to try kind of dive into how to apply for the endorsement now. And we do have some information out on our website, and it's under the Be a Teacher Student Experience page under teacher licensure. You see there at the bottom. And there's Dave, there's me. And there's some information about your initial teaching license, which is what you are doing. And there's a drop down, the application steps and details are there. And so we're going to don't look at the adding endorsements. We'll talk about that later. Those are for in-service teachers or people who want to add endorsements to their license later in life. And so we'll talk about that later. When you apply for your license, we pick the endorsements that you're going to get, and we'll give you all the endorsements that you're entitled to, but you don't have to do any of that part when you apply for your license. We will take care of that part. So steps 1 and 2, step 1, you're going to complete the application on the Board of Educational Examiners website. They are part of the Department of Ed who issue teacher licensures. We call them the BOEE. And step 2 is getting fingerprinted. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about that. And step 3, I have some forms that I ask you to fill out, the program checklist and the record of field experience. So, and these are I'm going to back up the train here. The program checklist tells me what endorsements you think you're getting. And then I look at all of your paperwork and go through everything and say, yep, those are the endorsements that you're getting. Or, hey, did you know that you also finished the requirements for this endorsement or that endorsement too? So that helps us be in agreement about what your plan is. And then the record of field experience is a document that where you can outline all of the things that you've done during your career here, those pre-admission volunteer hours that you had to do, the 10 hours. You'll talk about your practicums, your student teaching. Once you learn your placement, you can put it on there. And we like to have that just in case we need some more information about you in the years to come. You might come back and say, I want to add an endorsement and I just need a little bit more information about what kind of experiences you had or other states want to know. And I can help with that part. We do have a database as well so that I compare that up. But it's also a really great reference for you. When you go to fill out your resume, you have all of your experiences right there in front of you with dates and where you went and the grade levels that you were interacting with. So it'll be all right there on your record of field experience. And I do ask that you return those as PDFs. I can't open Pages documents. I don't want pictures. I need a PDF so that it makes it easier to store it in your permanent record. We squirrel away a lot of stuff about you. And those are two things that we like to keep. And these are what they look like. This is the program checklist and then the record of field experience. So just fill them out, save them as PDFs and email them along. All right. Now we're going to talk about how to apply online with the Board of Educational Examiners. Take a little bit deeper dive. These are the main steps. One of the first steps you're going to do obviously is create an account if you don't already have one. Those of you with the substitute authorization or a coaching authorization, you already have an account with the Board of Educational Examiners because you applied for that authorization. So you'll log in. Those of you who don't will create a new account. And then we're going to go through each one of these steps here. All right, so you're going to visit the Board of Educational Examiners website, and under educator licensure, you're going to click apply. And side note, if you've got some time, I would take a cruise through the educator licensure portion, as well as the first link there, the PK-12. They've got lots of information for teachers out there. They've got trainings available. They've got scope and sequences for your grades. They've got just lots of resources from the state. And so it's really a great resource if you've not been out on that page at all. Their site prefers Chrome or Safari when you go through all of this, and just hover over the educator licensure and click apply. And then you will want to create your new account there at in the middle of the page. And here's what it looks like on the right-hand side to create your new account. That's when it's going to issue you your folder number. So make a note of that. You're going to need that in a later step when you do your fingerprinting. You're going to need to know your folder number. And you're going to click on new application. Let's see what's in the chat here. Yep, well, I'll talk about that in a second. So you're going to apply for a new license and click the next button. And just kind of keep drilling through the steps here. You're going to apply for a teacher license and click next. This is the important part. Make sure you pick the type of application and pick the first Iowa Teaching, Counseling, or Class G license, Iowa institution. So that is the type of license that you want. Having the Iowa institution at the end is the one that directs it to us and allows you to pick the University of Iowa so that I see your license. So then you click next. It's going to give you a checkpoint here. Did you pick the right application? Are you sure? And say yes, or you can backtrack and correct it. It doesn't let you correct it later on. So that's kind of the bummer. And if that happens, I know how to work. We can work with the BOE to get it figured out. It's not a deal breaker. So that gives you another checkpoint here where it's going to say required documentation. Right now, I think it says none, but we'll talk about what you do. There is a required documentation piece here in a second, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And the fees that you need to pay, the $85 fee for the application, the $3 convenience fee, and then the background check fee of $35. If you have a substitute authorization or coaching authorization, you already completed the background check and won't need to complete it again. So that fee should not show up when you apply for this new license. If it does, don't pay your fees and let me know, or contact the BOE and we'll work through it. But it shouldn't be there if you have a sub-author or coaching authorization. So it's those are the fees that you're going to be paying. And then you click the finish button to start your education or your application. Kind of backwards. There we go. So we're going to start the education. It gives you one last chance. This tells you here's the application you're applying for, here's the documentation, and here's the fees that they're going to charge you. So the first step is to complete the checklist. And at the underneath all of it, in little tiny letters, is your application folder number, and then it gives your number there. So be sure to jot that down because you're going to need it later. And your school districts will ask for it later. You'll need to know it. It's going to be kind of like your social security number in the education work world. But there's your number and the type of license that you are applying for. And you're going to complete the checklist. And it asks you a lot of personal data questions about citizenship. It asks about your legal background. So it gives you opportunities to explain any situations if you have to answer yes to any of the questions there. So you will want to fill out those, and it gives you a text box, or you can upload information later at the end if you need to. So things like, DWIs, they'll come up on the background check. So, you can claim them or not. It's up to you. But most of these you're probably going to answer no to, or check with your legal counsel if you need to. If you've had a background check done for all the ones that you've had done for practicums and things like that, or for a work-related background check, those don't count. You still need to have this background check for your license. Even though you may have had it done at Field Print or some other place, the state, they just don't link up, unfortunately. So you'll need to have the background check done. All right. And then in step 3.1, it does ask you about the background check, yes or no. There is a link there in step 3.1 for the Board of Educational Examiners instructions for using Field Print. And I will also email those out as well. So you'll have those handy when you're filling out your application, but it's the same link that they have posted on their website, and save those for reference later. All right. Any questions so far? Let's see. Somebody asked, if you completed the fingerprinting with the Iowa City School District, that was just for your school district, and they do a pretty shallow look. This is for the state. You'd still need to have the background check done. Like I said, they don't cross district lines. They don't talk to any other entities. They want their own background check. And if you did mandatory reporter, super. We'll get to that in a second. All right. So you've created your account, you've created your application and clicked the finish button, you've completed your checklist, and now we're going to go to upload attachments. And this is a new requirement actually, they changed the law about a year ago, and the application system finally caught up with it in October, where they are asking you to upload your certificate of completion of child abuse mandatory reporter training. So it's a 2-hour training, and I think I sent out an email before the Thanksgiving break about how to take it. And if you need that, I'll try to include that in my message as well. It's a 2-hour training. It is free if you take it with the Iowa Health and Human Services. If you took the course Home School Partnerships, I believe you took it in that class as well. And so that would still, you can use that as your mandatory training. And you're going to upload the certificate to the website here when you click on the upload attachments. The mandatory reporter certificate should be the only thing that you need to upload. So if it's asking you to upload other things like a transcript or a license or something else, you have the wrong application selected. So this is the only thing that you're going to need to upload. So somebody said they took it with Iowa City Schools when they are substitute teaching there. That would work perfectly. Save your certificate. Your school districts will probably ask you for it as well. Even though it's part of the licensure process, they will want to see it and keep it in their own files. I believe the training is good for 2 to 3 years. I'm not sure. It used to be 5. They've changed the rule. It used to be 5, and it was really convenient because it matched up with the term of your license. And so when you renewed your license, you renewed mandatory reporter, and it was all just pretty easy to remember. And now I think it's 3 years. So you'll have to keep track of that as well. And your school district will want to see that certificate over time. So there you go. So you've uploaded your forms, and then you're going to click on the eForms button. This eForms X will remain red. So don't be concerned that it's red. And it will also say that your license is pending. That's normal. It's what we're waiting for is the end of the semester. So you will select the University of Iowa from your Iowa college. So if you don't see that, you've got the wrong license or the wrong application. And you can go back in and just start the own application and undo this one if you need to. Don't pay any fees if you haven't paid any fees. So you're going to select the University of Iowa as your college. And then there is this box that says applicant comments for signer. And typically on websites, they'll put that little asterisk up there for boxes that are a required field. They did not. And this is a required field. And you won't know it until you try to click the button and it doesn't say. So you can type anything in that box you want. You can type in your name. You can type in your endorsements that you're getting. You can type in, tell me a joke if you want to. Just type something in that box. And then your status will say waiting on recommendation from college. That's us. And it will be pending. So it'll just be hanging there in limbo. Wait, and then you'll click the finish button. What it's waiting for is for you to complete your program. So that's graduate. And then we will we'll go through all of your paperwork once your degree is completed and all of your grades are entered, and we will click the recommendation button, and that's when the process starts. So it's just going to be hanging there. So don't worry about that. And then you're going to pay the fees. And like we talked about, the license application fee is $85. The background check fee is $35. There are some other options for being fingerprinted, and the charges are a little bit different, but we're just going to talk about field print. You can also get paper cards, and the results from that takes a lot longer. So we're really recommending that you use field print. And then they charge you a $3 convenience fee. Those are the fees that are paid to the Board of Educational Examiners for your application. There is going to be another fee to field print when you make your appointment with them as well. So we'll get to that part. All right. Any questions about the application process?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so this is something that we can start now,
You can
basically?
start it right now, right
Okay,
this very minute, but I would rather you pay attention to me and then start
of course.
it.
Thank you.
Yes, you can start it now. Okay, so we've done all of the steps, and then we'll submit it in May. And again, it's going to say waiting for recommendation. If you did everything correctly, I will see it in our BOE email box. So I did this presentation last night to two groups. One is the I did it for all of the spring student teachers, and then the school counselors and social workers. And I think I've got 9 or 10 applicants already. So that's really great. And somebody asked about payment. You can start your application and do all the submission and not make payment until you're ready. You can go back, log back in and make the payment later. I will still see it in my email box. The things that I cannot see in your application are that if you've paid for it or if you've done your fingerprinting. I will never know that part. So I will be, as I'm sending you out reminders, I will always be reminding you did you do your fingerprinting? Did you pay? And it's because I can't see that part. And you don't need to tell me that you've done it. You just know in your head that you have taken care of those details. So you can pay. They won't issue your license until you pay. So you can wait until early May to pay for it if you want to. All right. All right. So then the fingerprinting part. Again, if you've been previously fingerprinted for the coaching auth or the sub auth, you do not need to be fingerprinted again. Or does anybody have a paraeducator certificate? I don't think we had any paras in this group. They would also need to be fingerprinted. So if any other fingerprinting doesn't count. All right. So field print, they're a private company that Iowa has contracted with to to serve as their background check entity. So you'll follow their instructions from the BOE, and we'll kind of go through them briefly here. And make sure that you have completed your application before you go out and schedule your field print appointment, because you need your folder number, and field print needs to know when they get the results back in about 2 weeks after they do your fingerprints, they need to know where to send them. And then so they'll match up. Field print is going to charge you $34.35 when you make your appointment. And they have offices nationwide. So you don't have to just have it done here in Iowa. And they just changed that about a year ago, so it made it a lot easier. So if you're going home over break and you don't live in Iowa, you can have it done over the break and in your home state. And when you go out to set up your appointment, you'll be able to select where you want to do it. The location here in Iowa City is on Burlington Street, and I think it's on the corner of Burlington and Lynn in Mailboxes Plus. It's across the street from there's a Firestone station there, and I'm not sure what's on the other side of the street, but it's on Burlington Street, almost to Gilbert. So that's where it is in Iowa City. I think there's one in Coralville, and then there's all over the state as well. So you're going to go out to their website. This is the slide that you'll want to have in front of you when you go out to make your field print appointment. It has the field print code there that you need. You are going to need your folder number, so be sure to have that handy. And your employer is the Board of Educational Examiners because they are the ones that are asking for the results, not your school district, not the University of Iowa, whatever. It's the Board of Educational Examiners. So this is what you're going to have. So you have all those little details in front of you. So then once you make your appointment, you're going to want to take that confirmation page that they email you. That you're going to want to take your government issue ID, like your passport, or your driver's license, or something like that. They give you the list of things that they'll accept that you can take, like your passport typically trumps all, but they want to see, make sure it's you. If anybody has like TSA pre-check, it's the same process. So this is kind of what it looks like. Here's on the left-hand side is your application with your folder number down there. And on the right with the purple is where you would enter your folder number after you've created your account, given them all your personal information again, tell a little bit of your demographics about you. They're going to ask you all those same questions that they asked you on the application too about your background. And then the additional information part is where you start filling in the Board of Educational Examiners information. All right, any questions about that? Great. All right. And so this is where you would fill in your employer and then what you need to take with you. So any questions? Super. So this is the new requirement that they want you to upload is the Child Abuse Mandatory Reporter Certification. And this is going to be required every time you apply for a license and every time you renew your license. They're going to want to see this certificate. You have two options. You can take it through the Iowa Health and Human Services for free. You can also take it through the AEA learning system. And once you get a job in Iowa schools, they will direct you to this AEA learning system to take all kinds of other trainings, like bloodborne pathogens. I think it's, that's the how to clean up barf training. And there's a few others that they require you to take that are typically free. And that'll be on the AEA online system. Let's see, someone asked, the application also prompts us where to go for a background check, where to have it sent. When you say the application, which application are you referring to, Caitlin?
I just mean like the licensure when you were saying how like none of our other background checks count for this, so we'll
Mm-hmm.
have to get another one. And
Mm-hmm.
it prompted us where to go for the fingerprints, so will it prompt us where to go for the background checks? And like usually it's like Castle Branch and it tells us where to
This,
send them.
what I just covered, when you go to field print, that's where you're going for your background check.
Okay, I didn't know if those were
Yeah.
going to be the same thing or not. Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
yep. They'll take your fingerprints at field print and complete the background check. It's much deeper, and it's a national background check as opposed to Castle Branch or ones that school districts do. They're pretty shallow because you
Okay,
don't pay a whole
perfect.
lot.
I
Did you have
was
to
wondering
pay
if they were
for?
the same. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, good question. So here's the mandatory portal, what it looks like from the Health and Human Services. That's what you're going to want to upload. I believe that there's an expiration date on it. So it needs to, when you are recommended for licensure in May, it needs to be current. So if you took it a year or two ago with an employer, make sure that it's still current in the end of May. All right. So here's kind of some serious parts. Is there's other licensure requirements. Certain crimes can the state will not issue a license if you have committed certain crimes. So you'll want to make sure that you are behave yourself during student teaching, or because that can slow things down if they find those things in your background check. Some states are more stringent. I know that our state, if you have a DWI or something like that, they'll still issue your teaching license. It's not a big deal. But some states, if you get a DWI, they won't give you a teaching license. So do know that if you're going to move out of state, you might not be able to be a licensed teacher. You'll also want to think about how your future employer views you, or even your community. I had a friend years ago who taught in a very small town here in Iowa, and when she wanted to go out and buy some beverages, she had to go to another town because the town was watching her and what she bought, and she was the kindergarten teacher. So, you're an adult, and you have a profession that is oftentimes in the public eye. So do be aware of that. And your behavior can also, throughout your career, can cause you to lose your license, even not paying your student loans. They'll catch up with you. Okay. These things are outlined in Code 25 of the Code of Professional Conduct and Ethics. And you can read about those there. I'll have the link in the PowerPoint when I send it out. And those are the code of conduct and ethics that you're held to as an educator in the state of Iowa, as well as the Code of Rights and Responsibilities in Chapter 26. So these are the things that you can read about that will get your license suspended or revoked. I'm sure you can kind of guess what some of them might be, but this is where you can read a little bit more about it if you've got particular interest in those. The state might also ask you for proof of legal presence, and that's outlined in Chapter 7 of the rules. So they might ask you, they don't do it during the application process right now, but they might, and I'm not sure how they do this. It might be an audit or a random sample, but they might ask you to show evidence of your lawful presence in the United States. I'm sure if you are a news junkie like I am, you may have heard about the Des Moines superintendent, the former Des Moines superintendent, and his issues with his licensure application and his residency issues. So I think because of that case, I think they're going to start cracking down on that a little bit harder. So do be aware of that. All right. Any questions about that? Great. Okay. All right. Like I said, don't get in trouble. And other things to do. So the deadline for completing your application is December 31st. Typically, we give you to the middle of February, but your group is really large. And so I'm going to need some more time to go through all of it and make sure that everything is accurate. If you don't make that 31st deadline, that's okay, but that's the preferred deadline to get your application in. And you can defer payment. You can pay later if you need to do that, but just really try to get this all done before the end of the year. You'll also need to apply for your degree if needed. That deadline is February 27th. If you do miss that deadline, I do believe that there is a monetary penalty. I think it's like 10 or 20 bucks. If you're an MAT or an MA student, you will want to make sure that you sign up for your final exams if needed. And if you've got any questions about that part, you're going to talk to either your advisor or to Becca Stye about the scheduling for that. Okay. All right. Anybody here planning on going out of state? Few people. You never know where your career might lead you. So if you're going to go out of state, you are going to need to have a license in that state where you're teaching. Almost every state require, I don't know any that don't, require a license just like Iowa does. And so you are going to need to apply for that license. We don't apply for it for you. You need to do all the work. You need to do the research on what it takes on the, if there's fees or background checks or whatever, that's up to you. And most states want a copy of your Iowa license. So some states you can go out and start the application just like you do in Iowa. You could start it now and then finish it all up once you have your Iowa license. And they will typically want an official transcript that shows your degree on it. So once that's available, usually the end of May or early June, you can get that transcript from the registrar and finalize your application with another state. But you are definitely going to want to get your Iowa license and let it expire if you are moving out of state. So some licenses in other states are called different things. Some of them call a certification. Most of them are turning toward the licensure title. And they have different durations. Like our initial license is good for 2 years. Some licenses are good for 5 in other states right away. It just depends on the state. And the endorsement areas and your grade levels may vary. If you're elementary ed, right now, if you're going to Illinois, you will get grade, I think you get a PKK and 1 through 6, but they're moving more to a model like ours. So that might change. If you're science ed or social studies ed, they are typically 9-12, and then they deal with the middle school stuff in a different way. So you'll want to pay attention to what your endorsements look like. And it's up to you to do that research. But if you do have some questions, let us know. We can help you a little bit. But I don't really know the details about every state like I do Iowa, because like Iowa, they change their rules and I don't always keep track of it. I found out by a fluke that Illinois is changing their rules starting January 1st of 2026, where they are requiring testing and for all air content areas. But here's a little tip. I'm not sure if it'll work, but maybe if you start your app, if you absolutely know you are going to Illinois, you will want to start an application before January 1st, and it may negate those testing requirements. And if you have questions, if you know where you are going in the area, they have what they call their Regional Office of Education. So when you go out to their website, look for that map and contact the Regional Office of Education in your area and talk to them about your license application. And you might be able to start your application and not have to take those content tests, because there's a one for each content area. So those who are in science and social studies, if you want to teach those different content areas, there would be a test for each one of those areas. And tests take time and tests take money. So they have created new barriers that weren't there before. Other states also have testing requirements. I know Minnesota does. I know Wisconsin has a small training that you need to take about Indigenous people. So states are all different. So you'll want to check into that. And they will issue the license if you have an Iowa license, and sometimes they'll issue like a temporary or a regional license or some kind of license that you'll still have these deficiencies, but they'll let you teach until you finish the deficiencies. All right. Let's see. Some have a form. I know that Nebraska, Colorado, Minnesota, who else? Montana, Wyoming have forms. It's called a verification of state approved program form that they want you to fill out. Typically, it's posted on their website somewhere, or you gather it up in the application process. It'll lead you to this form. You fill out the top part about yourself, and then we fill out the rest of it. So you'll want to send that to us here at the EDCU-licensure email address that we'll be communicating, or just send it to me, and we'll take care of that form for you. And you can send it to us in May. If you're starting your application, send us the form. We'll just hang on to it, and we will send it back to you once we recommend you for licensure in Iowa. That we'll send you that form back, and you can upload it to your application. I think most states the applicant sends it. There's one state that we send it back. Oh, Kansas. We send it back directly to them. But we can help you with that. So in the years to come, when you move away and you go to another state and need that form, send that back here to the Office of Student Services, not the registrar, not your advisor, not the dean of the college, but our office here. There will always be somebody here to help you with those forms. We do have websites out there for those of you who want to go out of state on our College of Ed website. And the links to those states typically take you to the information about an out-of-state application. So if you're from out of state, we do have specific information for Illinois, who are going to move to Illinois, and they call it a professional educator license. And here's kind of the information that I had just told you about the new test requirements, and that your endorsements are changed. The endorsements might look a little different. I know those of you that are getting reading K-8, in Illinois, you'll get a reading K-12. All right, Morgan.
Yeah, so I would apply for the 2 endorsements, also the birth to 2.
Mm,
Because you have two listed on there.
yeah, I think they're changing to something else, but I think you get you will apply for two endorsements, the grades 1 through 6 and birth to 2.
Okay, so that would include like an early childhood setting as
Mhm.
well. Okay, cool. Great.
Yeah, because you are licensed to teach kindergarten in Iowa.
Great.
Illinois translates that into pre-KK.
Okay, awesome.
Uh, yeah. Um, so, but like I said, they're changing their rules, and I'm not sure when it's going to go into effect. All right. Whoops. Okay. So what happens next? So by December 31st, you are going to submit your online application with the Board of Educational Examiners. You're hopefully going to get fingerprinted by December 31st or sometime around there. And you're going to turn in the two forms to me, the program checklist and the record of field experience. And then for the rest of the semester, I'm going to be looking through all of your documentation. So in the order that you apply, I'll be looking through those things. And then I'm going to send you an email with a bunch of information. It's going to be this really long email. So be sure to hang on to it. The title of it is going to be Save This Email. So it's going to be what endorsements you're getting, what things I still need from you if I need anything, and a lot of information about when you're going to get your license, if you're going to go out of state, how to order a transcript, things like that. It's all going to be in that email. It's going to be pretty long, but everyone should get one in the next, it won't be right away because I'll be sifting through all these applications, but in the next month or two, you should get one of those from me. All right. So when do you get your license? We're going to recommend you for licensure based on your application. For those who are in elementary or getting special ed endorsements, when you've completed the Foundations of Reading test, you'll learn more about that in your seminar class if you haven't heard more about that. Once that is completed, your faculty has provided any kind of signed program guide if needed. Typically, I don't think many of you have those. It's mostly the MATs and the MAs. Your grades are posted for the May semester. So that would be all of your student teaching grades. If you've taken any courses at other institutions, if you haven't submitted final official transcripts, you'll want to do that as well, because that'll help finalize your grades. And the registrar shows your degree application as completed. I think the next step is conferred, and that's the final step. We take the step before that as being done so that we can get recommendation done fairly quickly. This for your semester, I believe it's going to be. Okay, grades are posted on May the 20th. So we will start doing recommendations on May the 21st. And we will do those in order of the date that we've received your applications. Or typically, if anybody has a job that's starting right away, and in the spring, that's usually not an issue. But if anybody has a job, if you maybe have a summer job or you're starting working at an all balanced calendar school, you might need your application sooner. We'll kind of push those up to the top to make sure you get your license in time. But we'll start recommending on May the 21st, and we'll keep plugging along. It usually takes us about 3 to 4 days to get through everybody. And then there's always some stragglers that we do later. But you should get your license by hopefully June 1st. And if you don't, then check with us. And you'll get an email from the Board of Educational Examiners with your license attached to it as a PDF. And you can always go reprint it. Sadly, they don't send out those beautiful diploma, the certificate that you can frame with your license, with your diploma and things like that. It's just a PDF these days. You can't order that fancy one from them for I don't know how much they charge. But you can always get a new one from the Board of Educational Examiners from that application system by logging in, and you get another copy if you lose it. It's always there. All right. Any questions about when you get your license? Okay. So can you teach? Can you substitute teach before you get your license? No. No. So you're going to be done with your student teaching on May 15th. So some school districts are still in session those last 2 weeks before you get your license. Or actually, I think it might not even be that long. If you want to substitute teach during that time period, you would need to get the substitute authorization. And we do have information out on our website under additional resources. If you, on that same licensure page, if you scroll down a little bit farther, there's a section called additional resources. And there's some information about subbing while you're in the TEP and how to go about applying for the sub-auth. And the course that you took with us, if your orientation course, either elementary ed or the secondary orientation class, is considered a substitute authorization training course. So if you think you need the sub-auth, talk to us first. We'll talk about the timing of things and see if that's a good option for you. It does cost the $85. You would have already completed the background check when you applied for your initial license, so that would jive up. And you can typically make, I think somebody said Iowa City pays $140 a day for subbing, or roughly around there. So you would make the fees back with 1 day of subbing. But once you get your initial license, you are good to sub or teach or long-term sub, things like that. All right. So here are some the resources of all the things that I talked about. Like I said, there's a link to the subbing while you're in the TEP. Whoops, in December should be May. Sorry. Substitute teaching while in the TEP. So it's like 1 to 2 weeks in May where you're kind of in that limbo land. The fingerprinting information, how to get your copy your license, how you can search for a license. So your license will be out there on the public aura in May. How to order official transcripts from MyUI if you are moving out of state and would need a transcript. When you apply for your license, they trust us that we've reviewed your transcript. You do not need to supply your transcript. Your employer might want to see your transcript if you're applying for jobs. And so that would be where you would get your transcript. Once you get your license, we do ask that you review it closely to make sure that we got all your endorsements correct. Someone asked about how do you add endorsements later in your career. So if you don't have the right endorsements right now, so if somebody asks you, as you're a social studies teacher and you have the 2 history endorsements but not psychology, and they want you to teach psychology, your typical answer would be, no, I don't have that endorsement, but how can we work together? You can either get a Class B license if you have some of the coursework, which the state would consider some of your history courses toward social sciences, to get a Class B. But you can add those, and then you can work toward completing that endorsement and getting the full endorsement. So throughout your career, you are going to need to take renewal credits to renew your license. And once you get your standard license, you're going to need to take credits. So that's a perfect opportunity to add other endorsements, as you can take college courses toward fulfilling the requirement of an endorsement, like an ESL endorsement, or maybe you want to add reading now, or you want to teach a foreign language, or something like that, or I want to get one of the middle school endorsements to expand your employment abilities. So you can use as a guide. You can go back to our program guides and see what's required from the courses from Iowa, but we can help you work through some of that. We can see what you already took, what you might need, and how that process would work. And by taking additional credits during your career, you're fulfilling a couple of things. If you've got you don't need credits to convert your initial to standard, but you do need to renew your standard license. You do need credits. You need credits to renew your license. You can use the credits to get an endorsement. And districts will also determine your pay by how many credits past your Bachelor's of Arts degree you have. So they call it BA plus so many credits. So you get moved on the pay scale by those credits too. So there's some advantages of adding endorsements later in your career. And it gives you more employment opportunities. So if you have any questions about that as you kind of get through your teaching career, we are always here to help you. Another great resource for licensure information is your area education agency that you're going to work, that's affiliated with your school district when you get out in the Iowa world. And just call them up and say, I want to speak to your license renewal coordinator or your staff development coordinator, and they can help you with that. That was my job when I was at the Mississippi Bend AEA. And we helped lots of teachers navigate adding endorsements and giving them information about where to go. So we can help with that. All right. Any other questions? That's it. Let's see. what did we get here? Where do you go to get fingerprinted? You're going to want to take a look at the presentation where I discuss the whole part about Field Print. It's a company within different, they're usually in like the one here is housed in Mailboxes Plus. So take a look at the presentation and you'll get that answer. Yeah. Somebody's very helpful. Good, good, good. All right. Any other questions? Can you have multiple state licenses? You can have as many licenses as you want. Well, I'm going to email this out, and I think I typically post it on YouTube, and I'll give you the link so that you can take a look at this all later. And you'll also have the presentation in front of you as well. So when as you go through the process, if you have any questions, you can refer back. And then if you do have other questions, just email me, and I'm happy to help you. Anything else? Well, good luck on your finals, and I hope you all have a wonderful semester student teaching. It can be nerve-wracking, but it can be an exciting time. So there you go. Let's see what other questions we have here. Thank you. You're welcome. Yep, yep, yep. How do you decide what endorsements we're given when you get your license? Typically, you probably talk to your advisor about what endorsements you wanted, and so we will look at that in your program of what program of study you have, and we'll look through your courses and determine what endorsements you've completed. And then if you think there's something we've missed, we can go back and forth. All right. I think that's it. So just email me if you have any other questions. Bye, everybody. Have a good Friday.